Hello, Internet. Just thought I would, well, to be honest, save myself some time. What I get asked a lot, in particular from international buyers or viewers or enthusiasts, is what makes a good GTR? Is this car in good condition? So I thought I would spend a couple of minutes just looking at what I use to tell the condition and the age, or not age, I mean, you know the age, but certainly condition and kilometers of a car. Because there's a few tricks that people will try and use to, suggest that the car is in better condition than maybe it actually is. So this silver car here is my wife's GTR. This is, well, up until recently we thought it was the lowest kilometer car, or lowest kilometer 33 GTR in the world, but since then one's popped up with 5,000 Ks on it, and this has 10,000, so never mind. But this car is immaculate and completely stock, which the other one is not. So, it's still good. We're still going to keep it. So it's not like we're going to sell it now just because someone else found a good one. And of course, my LM, which most of you are familiar with. So basically, the silver car here is in fantastic condition, and it is what I will base the "this is how it should look" image. And some of the things on my car are the "here's where you need to look at and here's what you should be looking at." So first things first, so mine is a Series 2, which is a 96. My wife's is a 97, which is Series 3. So immediately the differences here, just on the front end, you have the updated headlights. So these are Xenons. You also have a different front splitter, or front lip, most of the world calls it. So you can see that duct there is quite large, as is that front air dam area. Over here, the air dam bit looks similar, although mine's a little saggy, but you can see there's a big difference in the size of that vent. It doesn't stick down as far as the Series 3. I don't know if I can get them both in shot here. It's quite difficult for you to see that, but basically the Series 2 doesn't actually extend as far down. So yeah, you probably can clear speed humps and things easier, but it probably doesn't do as good a job as cooling the brakes. Although mine's missing the duct anyway, so mine doesn't do a very good job. So that's one slight difference between. So Series 1 and Series 2 look like this. Series 3 look like this, but they are interchangeable. So Series 1 and 2 are generally updated with the Series 3 front end. It's kind of a common thing that people like to do, so don't be put off by that. It's a real straightforward swap, and man, everyone does it, and I do it myself, but those headlights are worth way too much money. So yeah, I haven't, and I'm lazy. Okay, so what you may have already noticed is this car, my wife's car, is quite clean. My car, I don't know if you can see, probably not, it's pretty putrid. It doesn't have as nice a life as the silver one, so yeah, it gets a bit dirty. You'll also see the windows are down on both of them because they have a tendency to lock themselves once you eject the key. And if you put the window up and leave the keys in them, you then have to break into them, which unfortunately isn't that difficult to do, but it is a pain in the backside, so it's just a safety thing. So I said we'd talk about some things to check out on the cars when you are inspecting these. So immediately you can see a big difference in the color of the headlights. So this one, silver one, like I said, this is the gold example. This is in perfect condition. You can see that the headlight lens itself is clear. You can see straight through it, with the exception of that one tiny stupid bug in there. That's in excellent condition. Whereas if we come over here, it's hard to see, but that's actually kind of a yellowy tinge. In fact, this one's a bit worse, so we'll look at that. So yellowed headlights are an indication of UV damage to the lens themselves. It's not the headlights, It's just that piece of glass on the front. It can just be polished out. It's really, really straightforward to get rid of. So don't let that put you off. An otherwise perfect example, you know, you can buy that at any car store, any car product store. That's not a problem. If we move on to rust. So rust is a thing that happens with these cars. Predominantly in the boot, because water comes down this large rear window and indeed off the roof. So down off the window, it actually pulls in the back here. So this is the wing, and you can see it's got a couple of little drains in it, but it actually pulls there on the boot and then goes down in this gap in the panel. Now, there are drains, so you don't have to worry about it, but if they get blocked or the water just can't get out, it actually ends up either in the tail lights here, and you can see this seal around here. They often don't work very well, and you end up with a lot of water behind the headlight, behind the tail light, sorry, or in the indicator and reversing lights. So have a good look at them. Have an extra good look in the boot. Now this car's stripped out, as you can see, but what you want to look at is this piece of floor here. It should be what you see before you. There shouldn't be any rust anywhere. A good idea just to check this spot here. Now you'll see there's no rust here, but if we move around here, I don't know if you can see in there, there's actually some rust occurring just in these flat positions. They're just indents on the car. I don't know, I guess it gives the boot strength. But have a look in there. That is where you'll probably find it, or down here. There's a hole here. I don't know if you can see it. That will also fill with water. You know, that gets blocked. This will fill with water and then just rust through. It's also worth having a look. Now that's mostly dust and dirt, but I should clean that off and check if there's any corrosion in there. And you should do that too if you're inspecting a car, and have a look at this area if you can. Now normally there's a big panel here, you can't see in there, but it'd be well worth your time to try and get in there, or even from behind the seat if you can. But yeah, definitely have a look in the boot. Take an extra good look at this piece of the car. Now what you'll notice on mine is there's this spot that is rust, or was rust at one point. So you can see that these are they get it pretty bad. So that's kind of the rear portion. Check the guards like you would any other car, especially if it's come from Japan in the snow. I don't know that these are particularly bad in here, but you should definitely have a look anyway. Same with the front guard. In particular, you know, the back half, definitely look in there, but that's not necessarily the most well-known area. One spot, one second. Alright, one spot worth checking is this, right here. So water will come down behind this B-pillar panel. It's a piece of plastic, it doesn't do all that much. But water will come down here and then get stuck in this seal, and it will retain the moisture. You'll actually end up corroding out here, so you need to check that pretty thoroughly when you're looking at a car. It's also worth looking under the bonnet a lot. Under the bonnet is where most of your problems lie. People will tell you 33, or Skylines in particular, 33s don't really have a rust problem. I'm not so convinced by that. My opinion is they sort of do, especially now. These cars are 22 and 23 years old. You know, some of them have had hard lives. So in here, what you're looking at is, in particular, I will pay close attention to this fan and shroud, as well as this bracket. Not that many people seem to change these, which is good news. It's a really good indicator of what you're looking at. Same goes for this guy. So you've got your bonnet latch Mine's got my intercooler hanging off that, but have a really good look at everything that is in front of the rad support. Double check the rad support as well. And then the absolutely biggest ticket item for these is engine bay. Top of the strut towers, this piece here is, there's two pieces of metal in here. And basically what happens is water gets between them, rusts out the bottom half, and you can't see it, so it'll rust out the bottom half, and then by the time you actually get to see this rusting out, this top piece, it's too late. That car is in serious trouble. You actually need a donor car at that point, and you cut out as much of the metal as you can to repair your GTR. That's a big job, thousands of dollars worth. It takes a lot of effort. I don't know what it's like for the car's integrity. You could probably actually improve it if you do the job right, but equally, if you don't know how the job's been done, you might get into a bit of trouble. The other thing worth considering is all of the seams around the engine bay. You can see a couple here. Definitely go over these with a fine-tooth comb. Check the firewall as well. Any seams on there, any details there, definitely check them out. And of course, under the front guards, if you can kind of sneak a look in under there, that's going to help you out as well. So that's kind of the rust side of things. That's what I would look for in terms of rust, and obviously get under the car to look at the rust, because that's obviously where it's going to originate. That's where the biggest problems will come from. So there's other ways to tell the condition and age of your car. Some really basic stuff, check that some of the bolts haven't been moved. There should be no need to pull the bonnet off a pristine GTR or things like that. I mean, you can look at mine and have a look at those nuts. They've been used and used and used. Now, I know that. I know the history of this car, and I'm happy with that. I know what this car's been through. I think this is the third engine that it's had, so I know its history. I'm not worried by it. But if you don't know the history of the car, really have a good look at some of those bolts. There's certain things that shouldn't need to be pulled out of these cars, and if they are, you need to ask yourself why, or better yet, ask the seller or somebody who might know why that might be. A couple of interior tricks. I can't show you this one, but this is my car with the standard gauge cluster. This is what they should look like. Now there's also a Nismo item that goes to, so you'll see mine goes to 180 kilometers per hour. That's it. There's a Nismo item that goes to 300 or 320. People love to swap them in. The thing about that is when you swap it in, you don't have to change the odometer at all. So people will swap in a brand new one. So my car's got 76,000 Ks on it, or 76,500. People will swap in a Nismo cluster with 0 kilometers or 2,000 or 10,000 or 50,000 kilometers, and the car doesn't know any different. So you've just wound your car back 25,000 Ks, for example, just by changing that gauge. You can also pull these out. Now, I don't know how to do it. People do know how to do it. You can pull it out and wind that back manually. So I could start, reducing those numbers down. Ferris Bueller style. Well, not Ferris Bueller style, you don't put car on ramps, but you can take that out and literally roll it back by hand. So, that's one thing to be very wary of. It's something I see all the time. Every second one has a Nismo gauge in it, and you just don't know unless there's a paper trail of how many Ks it's actually got on the chassis. Now, a couple of quick things to look at in here. This is a 70,000 kilometer car. Have a look. I don't know if you can see that. There we go. So have a look at that pull and push lever. That will start to show age quite well for you. Have a really good look at that. Have a look at the seat shape as well. You can see on mine, it's starting to just flatten out where I get in and out, and where the previous owners have a feel of it. I don't know if you can see that in the video. There's a bit of a crease there where it's been flattened. Make sure you have a really good look at that. The seat should also be clean. Mine is definitely not. You can see it's quite grey and black there. That should be closer to that colour. It probably doesn't work so well on video, but it should be clean. It shouldn't be so dirty as mine. Part of that is I let my kids just trample through this, so they kind of step all over it. Obviously we don't let them do that with the silver one. Yeah, so seats are a big thing. Steering wheel as well. Steering wheel's a big deal as well. These really don't last. 100,000 Ks really starts to show its age on this steering wheel quite badly. Same with gear knobs. Now you can see I've got a Nismo gear knob. You want to have one with the 5-speed pattern in it, in an R33, and that, how worn that is, will actually tell you a bit about how old the car is. If it's brand new, that's probably not going to help you at all, but if it's super worn and the seller's claiming it's a really low K car, that just doesn't quite make sense. So same for the handbrake boot, not boot, handbrake handle, I guess you'd call it. Have a look at that. Just have a look at everything that gets touched in the interior. A good one to look at is actually this panel here. Generally speaking, it should be in decent condition. Check the words here. I don't know if you can see. That's kind of wearing away. So this is 75,000 Ks, this car, and that word auto is wearing away. So if that's gone, and it's supposed to be a low kilometer car, you may, either that's been swapped, which is not the end of the world, or maybe it doesn't quite have the right Ks. So the other thing worth considering is the underside of the car. Now, I'm no mechanic and I'm no expert on this, but one thing that is super amazingly common is when these are jacked up, the cars themselves, when they're put on hoists, when they're, when you jack it up to change a tire, damage is done to the rails underneath the car. So there's 2 rails down each side and some jacking points. They're not good on these cars. It just, I don't know if nobody knows how to do it. I don't know how to do it myself, but I don't know if it's something that's particular to this car in terms of they don't do a great job of supporting the car, or I don't know if they've just been poorly engineered, but they just break constantly. So I'll show you this one, the silver one. I'll try and have a look under the car and you'll see what I'm talking about. So here's the rail I'm talking about. You can see this here, this component here. Where am I? Here. That is super straight, no problems. It's as it should be on this car. What I'll show you is the LM is not terrible, but I will show you one piece that's quite badly damaged. So if we go down here, so this is my passenger side jacking point. Where is it? So you can see here, this piece here is all folded over on itself, and in fact it's starting to corrode because it's damaged. That's what a lot of these look like. I don't know if you can see. So the rail itself is not too bad, but that front jacking point is ruined. Unfortunately, that's just how some of these are. But you would be hard pressed to find a car without some damage down there nowadays. It is super common. Whether it's when you were getting your brakes and tires done, or whether you were having some sort of mechanic look at it, all of these things, they can be problematic. So really quickly, this is the 10,000 kilometer car. You can see the shape of that seat. It's it's still in almost perfect condition. There's still a bit of folding here, and this is 10,000 kilometers. So, you know, if you come across a really low kilometer car and it's got a busted seat, you need to ask some questions about that. You can see here, I was talking about that auto switch. See how much better the condition of this one is? And there's only 65,000 Ks difference, which in the reality of the world is not that big of a distance, but that wears away quite quickly. Same for the gear knob. 10,000 Ks that's got on it, and look, it's not bad, it's pretty good, but it's not perfect. So you've really got to, you know, you've got to be on your game when you're looking at these and what can be going wrong with them. So there's that B pillar I was talking about. If you can, try and just move that out a little, and just have a good look in there. Always go over these with a fine-tooth comb. The dangers of rust and rollbacks are real, and potentially they'll cost you thousands or tens of thousands of dollars these days to repair. So definitely, you know, get someone who knows about them to look at it if you're unsure, or get a professional mechanic to look at it. Under the bonnet, if you've got a reasonably stock 33, this snorkel should be in place. And you can see here, this foam just kind of dies off. It gets hot, it becomes brittle, and it falls off. You can see that it should be square like this, and you can see here it isn't. That is just par for the course for these. Also worth considering is your intake here. You can see there's some paint chips. That is extremely common. Do not let paint peeling on this component, or indeed the valley cover, don't worry about paint peeling off those. You can see it's already peeling off this one. It is very well known. It is absolutely as common as anything for the original paint to come off. Yeah, my car doesn't really have that problem. It has a different type of paint on the actual top of the engine here, and I have the Nismo intake collector, so it's a little different. Have a look at whatever intake is on the car. A Nismo or some other well-known brand is not a problem, and it's probably quite expensive, so don't let that put you off. And the amount of people who paint these it's a lot. Basically everybody does it, because almost all of them wind up doing this. And like, when I say almost all of them, I mean 99.9% of all GTRs do this. That valley cover just loses its paint quicker than you can imagine. Same for the intake. So don't let that put you off. That is really super common. So hopefully this video has, well, I hope it helps, or at least gives you something good to look at. Yeah, that's some of the things. Look, you know, always get a car pre-checked before you put down mega dollars on it. I'd hate to see someone put down serious money and end up getting ripped off. So, you know, you can always hit me up on Instagram, which is basically why I made this video, because I get a couple of these a week. You know, is this a good car? And look, you know, this is what I use to tell. So hopefully you can do it yourselves, but I'm always happy to look at other people's GTRs. So yeah, good luck. Let me know how you go.